Okay, so here we are now on day 15. We're on Monday, and I've been to see the physio this morning. Unfortunately, as I suspected, she's confirmed that not only have I not increased that extension in my leg, it's actually decreased now, and the maximum we can get it at, it's at 30 degrees now. She's got a protractor that she's got it on there. She was quite surprised at how bad it was, but it's like I've said from the very beginning, that was the thing that was causing me some concern. The good thing about it is she's come up with various things for me to try and do. She's really worked into the joint itself today, trying to break down some scar tissue. She's put pressure on the knee, pressing it down, and at the same time bringing the foot up to again try and increase that extension. What she really wants me to concentrate on is the active motion rather than the passive. So I've been doing that. At the moment I'm now sat on my couch in my clinic room, and I'll show you my leg in a second. The other thing that she's mentioned is whether or not something like a TENS machine would be good. And I'd actually forgotten I've got something called PowerDot. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. I've had them years, but I've not used them now for about 4 or 5 years. So I did try those on earlier, and I'll show you a video of those on my thigh, because again what they do is they get that muscle to contract and release. And I remember when I used them years ago, they were properly getting the activation in that quad. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not I can get those working on there. But I'll just show you the leg at the moment. So here we are here, and again, so she's really pleased with this extension, the flexion. We've not got a problem with this particularly. It's this extension. Now, I'm going to do this in the gym shortly on the floor, but as I sit here now, actually when I try and slide 4 fingers under, it's now catching, properly catching. So this feels slightly better, but I'm not judging it from where I was the other day in the gym. I'm judging it on this couch, which has got a bit of giving. The other thing what I'm going to do with the couch in a second is put my foot over this foot piece here, which again is going to get me into this raised position. And then what I'm going to do is tug on that foot, and at the same time trying to manipulate this down. The advice that she's given me in relation to painkillers is to continue with the normal ibuprofen and paracetamol throughout the day, but when I come to do the physio, increase it to the dihydrocodeine. And the other thing that she's said is that I've got to stop using a pillow underneath it at night. So I need to just let it rest in that straight position, which I know is going to be agonising at times. So what she's advised me to do is go on to the morphine at night. As I mentioned previously, I've not used the morphine at all, other than on night 1. So it'll be interesting to see what my sleep's like and how I feel when I've been on a night of morphine. But I'm going to get these exercises done for now. I'm not going to video them today. I'll come back to that probably in the gym at a later stage, and I'll show you how that PowerDot is working on the quad. I'll give it a couple of days of doing these exercises. I say they're quite brutal in relation to getting my thumbs in there and working through this scar tissue, and then I'll come back in a couple of days time and we'll see how we've gone. So this is now using the PowerDot on that quad. I've got it set on level 50, and you can see in a second how it's getting some of the muscles now to contract for me. So it's just going into the rest phase now, so there's nothing happened. It's counting down 2 seconds, 1 second, and now you can see it, or hopefully see it gripping. And again, you see all the vibrations going through there. I'm not feeling a massive amount here at the moment. The program changes as we as it goes through. Let's just give it another one. It actually seems now to have calmed down, so I'm going to increase it up now. Take it up to level 60, and again you can really see that muscle now starting to fire. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when I've used this now 2 or 3 times as to whether or not I can get that active contraction within the quad a little bit more. So this is now on a different setting. This is now just on the massage setting on level nearly 80. And again you can see here how the muscles are now really starting to fire. And we'll see later whether or not that's made much of a difference in relation to the ability to extend it. So here we are, we're now the Wednesday of the 3rd week, so I think we're on day 17. Last time I spoke to you, it's talking about what the physio had advised. I'm going to go through in a second some of the exercises I'm now doing. I'm on the morphine now at night. That worked on the Monday night. I was able to get into, I took the morphine about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was able to stay with my leg raised for the remainder of the night. Last night, if I'm honest, I took the morphine about 12 o'clock, but it just didn't seem to kick in at all. The discomfort, the pain level was unbearable, so I couldn't lie with my leg in the elevated position as I should do. So I ended up being in the bent position, which is not good, but it's really difficult. You're in that much pain and nothing's taking it away. Anyway, I'll just go through the exercises from what I'm going to be trying and doing today. The first one is the static quad activation and leg raise, so we'll come to that. So I'm just going to bring that round now, and hopefully you can now see the thigh. You can see now that when I activate the quad, we're now getting the activation through there. It's twitching a little bit, and we can also see the kneecap here is moving backwards, which again is a good sign. So what we have to do here is activate the quad, push down with the quad to get the extension, and then we relax off, and we basically do this 10 times. I've already done 1 round of this. I don't intend to do the full 10. As I say, I've already done this a few minutes ago, and I should point out as well that prior to doing these, I've actually taken the normal medication and the stronger medication of the codeine. So now I'm going to bring in my assistant, who is now going to do some extension of the leg, which is particularly uncomfortable. So we take the foam roller away. I go into as straight a position I can. Jack will now cup the knee, just a little bit lower, that's it there. And then again with the ankle, and then basically now raise that ankle and let it go. Just bear with me a second, just let it go, because one thing I hadn't done before we do this, I've got to activate the quad. So just bear with me. So you can see I've activated the quad, the kneecap's raised, and then Jack is now just going to keep pivoting that. And you can see as I change angle there, the quad is really twitching. This is not overly painful, it's really uncomfortable though, and we'll just do that a few more times. And what I want to do in a second is I'm going to go straight into the gym after doing this to see if we've got any change in that extension. One more, that's it. Good. And relax, because in this position now, as I slide 4 fingers under, I actually can't slide 4 fingers under. I don't know if you can see that at all. So in this position it seems to be lower, but there's some give in this couch, so I need to go back into the gym just to compare properly. So we're now back into the gym, and hopefully you can now see this. So I'll do it with my left leg first of all. So ultimately that's where we want this leg. The right leg is to be down on that. So I'm going to extend it, engage the quad and bring that down. Now I'm going to take these 4 fingers through, and they're sliding under, but there's definitely more pressure. If you remember the other day when I did this, I could really wobble that. Now I can't. So that does seem to have come down a fraction. So that latter exercise that I've just been doing there with my wife in relation to mobilising the leg, I need to be doing that 2 or 3 times a day, and then again just trying to keep that extension in there as much as possible, and we see where we go from there. So good morning everybody, we're now on day 20, so it's 3 weeks ago tomorrow that I underwent the surgery. I've got to be honest, this week's been a bit of much Groundhog Day every day. Things are just the same. There's marginal improvements in some of the things, but the extension is still causing me the problem. The good thing now is the scar. I'll just show you the scar here. You can probably see now that is healing, well, it's healed really, really well. Other than this tiny bit of scab there, there's no purple throughout the scar. It's all now pretty white and pretty pink. So that's healed really, really well. Sleeping wise, I'm no longer in any pain at all when I sleep, other than when I get my leg into that extension. The problem then, of course, is I go to sleep with my leg in that extension and then end up bending it, and then I wake up a couple of hours later within the bent position. So I'm still struggling to try and keep that extension within there. Myself and my wife, we've come up with a different way for her to manipulate the knee. I'll show you that in a second, hopefully. But we're using a thick band. I think it's got a 45 kilogram resistance, so that supports the foot, and she can then just push down on the knee. And the nice thing is that just gives a little bit of give at the ankle. So as a practitioner of doing these sort of things, you get confidence in your ability to do these things over the years. When you've not done those sorts of manipulations, those mobilisations before, it is actually quite difficult to do. So that using the band is a real support for her. I'll just show you now again from a quad engagement perspective. Again, we're doing a lot better now. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but there now I'm really able to grip with that quad. The swelling, although it's still quite swollen around here, you can actually see my kneecap, and as I tense the knee or the quad, you can see that kneecap moving. But when I come to do the exercise now of tensing the quad and then raising the leg, that is more bearable now to do that exercise. My only problem is it's not coming up as high as I want it to. And what I'm finding, if I'm not careful, is if I get the band to passively raise that to help, then actually what it does, it lifts it off the foam roller here, so we end up doing a leg extension rather than knee extension. So the passive assistance here isn't really working. This is where really need to be pushing that down at the same time as pulling it up, but that's the exercise I'm doing in the gym now with my wife, and that's the one I really need to concentrate on. Other good things at the moment now is I don't need the crutches. I am using them. The advice is to continue to use them, but for example, if I'm making a bit of tea in the kitchen, I can just put the crutches to one side, and with confidence I can just potter about the kitchen for 10 or 15 minutes before I go and sit down. It also means now as well I can carry a cup of tea through from the kitchen through to the lounge rather than relying on other people or using a sealed cup in my pocket to bring it through. But you can see there that that's pretty good now in relation to that strength and extension. But we'll go through to the gym now. So I'll just show you how I was originally with the crutches. So at the start of the week, this is how I was having to walk. So basically take the crutch forward, bring the bad leg forward, and this is how I was at the start of the week. I've now progressed through to this being quite easy to use the crutches as support, and there's very little actual support I'm doing, but I'm also able now to get rid of the crutches totally and just walk through. There's absolutely no pain or discomfort when I'm with that. Trying to get the movement in the leg is a little bit difficult, but as I say, the advice is still to use these, which I am doing on the majority of occasions. So this is now, so we've got a little bit of support. Let me just tense the quad, and then Jack just pushes down through that kneecap. And we just keep raising that and let it go, let it go. And again, tense and push. Yeah. That's enough, that's enough, that's enough. And relax. Don't release pressure totally. Tense and push. Enough, enough. Ease back. Two more. And relax. And tense and go. And relax. Thank you. And then of course the test for this one is then see how many fingers I can get under this knee when I tense it and try and lower it. And yeah, I do think that that is very slightly better. So that's 4 fingers, and I'm having to force those fingers through there. Let me just get the lacrosse ball, because ultimately what I want to try and do is get this ball underneath the knee to massage it. And as you can see at the moment, there's no way that's going to happen because I can't bring the knee down. But again, that might give you give me an indication next week when I put that there, just to see how close I can get this, because if I can get that to touch the lacrosse ball, then that is going to be a big indicator. From a flexion perspective as well now, we can get it into this position pretty easily. Let me just get it back. So we're getting the leg right up here now, which again I think is pretty good. In a second I'm going to demonstrate one of the other exercises I've now got to do, which is a simple squat. And you can be able to see again that I'm getting now down towards the 90 degrees in a squat position under load, which again I think is pretty good. So again now from a squat perspective, I'm just using the band for a little bit of give. So before I do the squat, I'm trying to bring my weight into that right side, so it's quite easy just to drop over to the left. This is where again I've got Jack here as the spotter because my perception isn't necessarily reality. So I'm now trying to come down through there. This is nice and comfortable. I'm not even looking at the knee, so I haven't got
Right,
a
bum
clue.
right.
Okay, so I'm pretty much down at 90 degrees there. And again, I'm just going to do 10 of these. I've got that quad tensed throughout. In fact, I'll just do 5. Again, I can get really, really deep by holding this band for support.
But you skew left a bit.
So that's pretty good there. But as Jack's just saying to me, I'm just going to be careful that I don't drop over onto that right hand side.
Left.
Okay. So that's all the exercises done. What I'm going to just do now, I'm still using the power dots on my leg for massage and stimulation of that of the quads, as you can see. I'm finding that's really good. As I say, this week's been pretty much Groundhog Day every day. What I want to try and do later on today is to start doing some simple upper body work in the gym. So I can do stuff sat down. I'm not going to affect the knee in any way, but I do need to try and start to get a little bit more normality back into some training. So we'll see how that goes. I've got it's another week until I've got physio. So it's really working on that extension. So we'll see where we go. Catch you next time.